Hello and welcome to Cruise Control. It's Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Les, how you doing?
Very good, Fred. And we've, of course, got the usual amount of stories about the auto industry. Got some problems. I guess this is our kind of, things ain't so great week.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we're talking about Stellantis. Their CEO, Carlos Tavares, quit,
Yep.
and kind of suddenly, they say. And then there's some talk, and we'll kick it around. I don't know what to say. Could that mean a return of the HEMI engine? Well, we'll kick that
Some
idea
say,
around. Some say. Some say.
yes. Um, I'm not so sure, but yeah, never assume anything in this
Y-
industry. And
Yeah.
there's also turmoil at VW. They're experiencing pay cuts, and there's a long-term strike going on.
Or about
Uh,
to happen,
part,
actually. There's been some.
This is Cruise
Here we
yeah,
Control,
go. Here we
here
go.
we
on
go.
air automotive magazine with co hosts Fred
Um,
Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news will fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. And we are here as usual. Les Jackson here at this microphone. Fred Staub right over there at his microphone. And we have, Fred, well, we got some pretty troubling, let's say, news about a couple companies here.
Yeah, absolutely. We told you last week or last hour about Nissan. Now it's VW and Stellantis.
Yeah.
Stellantis, their CEO Carlos Tavares has left, and people are very, he just kind of quit mid meeting.
Yeah, that's frightening. He walks in heading this huge company and he says, "Oh, well, I'm quit.
Walks
Goodbye."
out. I'm done. But it raises many interesting questions. What will happen with their model lineup? And there's a lot of rumors going around, and actually some articles from some bigger outlets saying that it could signal the return of the HEMI engine, the HEMI V8. As you know, they've been talking electrics and six-cylinder Hurricanes. Well, what do you think, Les? Do you think it could mean the return of the HEMI?
Well, if it sells more product, it'll come back.
All right, all right. Well,
Um, that's what they'll do. And at VW, it's the same thing. But right now, there's a strike about to happen. Probably a long-term strike. Uh, jobs are being abolished in some cases. Pay cuts. So, is this going to change the product lineup? Well, it probably will because VW has done it before. If their particular brand isn't selling very well, a model, they just say, okay, that's it. We're not going to offer it.
yeah, exactly. Well, we'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about Jeep owners, how they can save $6,000 on a brand new Ford Explorer. We'll talk about that. It
Well,
seems like a great deal if you're a Jeep owner and you want a Ford Explorer, right?
sure. And Polestar starts the U.S. production of its latest model. That's always good news for the factories. So we'll talk about that and what it is.
Yeah. And then we're also going to talk about Genesis switching up their plans for electric vehicles, moving away from electric vehicles. They're not the only one doing that, but hey, we'll talk about what they are planning out as well. And also going to talk about a couple of vehicles you won't be able to get in the USA right away, the Mini Aceman and the Mini Cooper Electric. So stay tuned to Cruise Control. We will be right back. Fred Staub and Les Jackson We are just getting started.
Mini.
We want to know if you think the return of the Hemi is going to happen. Just give us a note in the comments, because I tell you, I think they probably should have rebuilt it, the Hemi, as a smaller displacement V8 to keep that V8 sound, and maybe did a power adder to it. I think that would have been the best play.
That's the core buyer of Dodge.
Yeah.
And not having that, I wonder. We could, if we had some dealers, we could ask them. Are people not buying the products very much anymore because they're angry?
Yeah.
Or is it making any difference?
Yes, I know. Is it making any difference? I think it will. I think it's a tough sell, but we'd like to hear from you. Drop us a note and in the comments on YouTube, and let us know what you think. I still think a smaller V8 would have been the way to go to get that sound, but they didn't do it. I would have liked to seen the Hurricane straight six and the and a new Hemi V8. But who knows? There's a lot of talk. People are said they've seen the new vehicle with a V8 in it. I don't know if that's an internet rumor or what.
Yeah.
Who knows what they saw? Maybe they're testing it for their drag version and put a V8 in it. Who knows? You never know what they're testing. They do all kinds of things.
That's right.
But we'll have to see. But when we come back, we're going to talk about Carlos Tavares and suddenly quitting, which I think is a big deal in its own right, don't you?
I think so too. This talk about an abrupt leaving. It just apparently was an argument at a boardroom clash. Hey.
Yep. We will talk about that and more when we come back on Cruise Control.
Doing a quick
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab and Les Jackson. And big news at Stellantis. Their big boss, Carlos Tavares, has quit following a boardroom clash. Mic drop, as they say. Mic drop.
Yep. Well, I wonder if he keeps his retirement package.
I'm sure he's got a good agent that has thought of that.
I'm sure he does. So that means that obviously they'll be looking for a new CEO. And meanwhile, a senior independent director has said views have emerged which have resulted in the board and the chief executive coming to today's decision. So, okay, he's out.
The big thing about him was that he was a ruthless cost cutter, and the thinking is that not only was he a ruthless cost cutter, but he also got the mix wrong in the U.S. with too expensive vehicles in the lineup, vehicles like Ram pickup trucks just sitting on the lots, people not buying them. So he got the mix wrong and also was cutting costs. Now, you ask, well, by the way, he was talking about getting rid of Vauxhall. He controlled Vauxhall, Jeep, Fiat, Peugeot, Chrysler. Look what he did to Chrysler. Chrysler's got nothing to sell,
No, that's right. So maybe it's a very good thing for the future that that he left.
In the meantime, Stellantis' John Elkman, who is a member of the powerful and Agnelli family of Italian industrialists, will be running the company. And now he's an interim, so I don't know what that means, whether he'll eventually be elevated to full-time CEO or not. But cost cutting. So how does you say, okay, how does this mean the HEMI's coming back? Well, it may or it may not. But you and I were talking about this. There's been some internet rumors about people seeing HEMI-powered, the new Charger, HEMI-powered versions of this and being tested. And, you and I know car companies do all kinds of things that are not for publication, or typically they would probably be preferred if they're not seen. So we don't know if that's true or if that's going on or not. But the idea behind this is, could the HEMI return? That was what the Dodge brand was about, the HEMI. Sure, you could buy a Pentastar V6, but it was about the HEMI. People wanted the HEMI in the Charger and the Challenger. So the idea is, the reason why it was eliminated in the first place is they had to pay credits, carbon credits, if you will, to build a vehicle that burned a lot of gas, right? And that was one of the first things to go when they looked at cost cutting. They're like, well, let's just make it all electric. Now, we won't have to pay those, and we'll get rid of those costs. Now, the new management may be, and this is according to an article in Hemmings, it was a very interesting article in Hemmings, they may be saying, hey, maybe it's worth it we pay for that. Or maybe we make a smaller version of the HEMI and make it a hybrid and get some decent mileage, but still get that V8 sound. It's all about the sound. You can do everything you want with flashy speakers and things like that to an electric car, but it's not going to sound like a V8. And I think that would have been the better play. So they'll have to spend money to develop this, but there's a lot of talk. What if they just took the 6.4-liter HEMI and made it into a hybrid drivetrain in a very exotic, limited production vehicle?
Well, but for the time being, you've got all the technology. You have the platforms. Just put existing HEMIs back in them.
Mm-hmm.
And sell them until you can make those changes. But meanwhile, the people who flock to Dodge dealers will keep going to Dodge dealers and get their, HEMI 1.0.
HEMI 1.0, yeah. Remember we had the Dodge guys on. I said you ought to build like one of those little model V8s that they show in on YouTube videos, and put that in there and just put a microphone by the exhaust.
That's right.
Have it tied to the throttle some way. But the good news is the new Charger can fit. They say they can fit all kinds of internal combustion engines and potentially fit a HEMI as well. So who knows what they will do? I think we might see it maybe in a low volume model. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think whatever they're going to do it really fast.
Yes. This is definitely, they've got to get products out there. They've got to get more hybrids out there. They've got to get the mix right. I mean, this is a big deal. You can't cut your way to profits. You can't. Nobody has.
No, it never works. And their share price has fallen by 40% since the start of this year. So, hey, that pretty soon you're talking about real money.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, when we come back, we're going to tell you about more turmoil in the automotive industry, and that is over at VW. So stay tuned for that because there's big strikes going on. Could change their product lineup. We'll have that and more when we come back on Cruise Control.
Just had a visit.
Find out.
Sorry, wrong break.
No. So it only takes it's a big change, life change for them, and I can see why this is a big problem. But for VW, it's incredible. There's talk about that brand being in trouble too, and that's like you. I don't want any of these brands to go away.
VW is the second largest brand in their manufacturer in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and enormous impact
Five now.
on countries everywhere. Obviously, Germany and the U.S.
Here we go.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We are really going to get into this VW thing because it's concerning, I think, for everybody. The workers in Germany, the union worker, well, they're all union. They're trying to propose taking salary cuts and foregoing bonuses. But VW is holding firm. They just said, well, that's real nice, but a few years later, we're just right back at the table.
Right.
So this is bad. I mean, they want a 10% wage cut
Across the board.
That's serious.
Yeah, the name of the union is IG Metall, Metall, and it involves workers at all of Volkswagen's plants in Germany. And VW has proposed a $1.6 billion cost savings. This is according to Reuters, which, as you mentioned, would be a 10% wage cut across the board plus layoffs, and they're not going for that.
And what is really troubling is they're threatening to close plants in Germany, which they haven't done ever.
Yeah, ever.
I mean, this is just This is scary.
Well, here's what it means, too, for the cars. We talked about the people's impact on their work, but for the cars, VW built 40% fewer prototypes in 2024 to cut costs. They have also been doing more bench testing and more virtual testing. Now they can run complete vehicles in the development chain on a digital prototype, shortening the product development process and reducing costs without sacrificing quality. And they also have been saying that they're not going to go with various features. They're just going to go put into cars useful features, not features for the sake of features. So what does that mean for their lineup, you know? Are we back to the decontenting of the days when we couldn't get parts?
I would hope that, well, obviously all the safety features would be there.
Yes.
They're not going to change that. And maybe stuff like, different color mood lighting and electrochromic sunroofs. Okay, you can get rid of those, and it's not going to bother hardly anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start stripping them out, and people go, well, gee whiz, I can get a Toyota with some stuff in it for the same price, then you're really hurting yourself.
Yeah, it does. That once again, you can't cost cut your way into profitability. The product can never be jeopardized in any way, shape, or form. There's just too many choices. In the case, if you're in Europe, they're battling against Chinese imports from they're branded with MG. It looks like it's the old MG logo, but they're branded with MG. They're selling these things for peanuts, and so it's hard for VW to compete against that type of thing. They pay a living wage, but it's what does it mean? I don't know what it means for all these manufacturers. Will they be sold off? Who knows? I think you have to be agile. You have to be able to turn on a dime. Platforms have to be able to handle anything from extended range electrics to gas engines to anything electric. It has to be able to be moved through.
That's correct. Do you have any idea how many Chinese vehicles are coming into Europe now? I wasn't aware this was even a problem.
Well, just from a recent trip to the UK, there are a lot of Chinese manufactured vehicles driving around London. I'll give you that.
Okay.
But that's not scientific in any way other than just walking around and looking at them. Because I always say, what is this car? Oh, that looks like a Chinese brand. So I think what happened is they came in and they dumped a lot of these cars in the European market before the European market knew what was happening. And we're, I think, thankfully seeing that, and we're not going to let that happen. And that is a bipartisan thing because one guy put a 50% tariff on him, another one put a 125% tariff on him. So,
well, yeah. Now, and that's a whole other issue.
We can all unite against Chinese, cheap Chinese cars.
Frankly, I think most people would say, well, I don't care if we put a tariff on Chinese products. You will, on cars. You will if they put a tariff on Chinese products, period, because when you walk in a Walmart, you'll see it. But I don't believe they're going to do that. But anyway, Volkswagen, and by the way, we both have very old, strong contacts at VW, and they have not returned my emails.
Oh, okay. So we'll talk about that. But let's talk about something different. The good news, actually.
There we go.
If you fit this category, if you are a Jeep owner, and you say, hey, I want to buy a Ford Explorer. Now, I guess there are Jeep owners that want to buy a Ford Explorer.
Okay.
you will get it for $6,000 cheaper in the 2025 model year if you drive a Jeep. Yes, this is according to Ford Authority. Dealers are offering $4,000 on the hood of every Ford Explorer. But if you are a Jeep driver and you are switching over to a Ford Explorer, you get $2,000 Conquest cash. Conquest is a common term in the automotive industry for I'm changing up the brand, isn't it?
Yep. Well, I think they're going to get a lot of sales out of this, especially with Jeep's position in Consumer Reports reliability lists.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I think this is a very smart marketing program. I think the Explorer is a terrific vehicle.
Yeah, very well equipped. There is a best lease deal in New York, actually, is a 2025 Ford Explorer Active 4-wheel drive. And the language used for it is for trade-in competitive customers and lessees. So the Ford Explorer would require $4,519 due at signing, and you get that for $299 per month for 24 months. So it's probably a good deal if you're looking to
That's
lease.
pretty good.
Yeah. So Conquests.
Conquest. That's car companies love Conquest sales.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Hey, we'd love you to stick around for more cruise control because we got plenty more coming up. We're going to tell you about Polestar building electric vehicles in the U.S. They just started. Genesis changes up its EV plans. Waiting game for Mini Aceman and Cooper Electric and more. So stay tuned to Cruise Control. We'll be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back. Welcome back. We're going to head down to South Carolina virtually.
All right.
Because it would be a long drive before the end of the show. Polestar is now starting to build their newest model, the Polestar 3 long range. Single motor, and they're sharing the Volvo plant in Charleston, South Carolina. which would be a wonderful place to visit in January.
Not so much in the summer.
I need to set up an invitation. But this is great. First of all, it's great whenever any vehicle is made here because it helps everybody. Helps the local economy. It helps the people that they've hired and all the suppliers and all of that. Anyway, they've started the production, and got an EPA certified range of 350 miles. That's pretty good. That means it's better than 350.
Yeah. Well, this is a shared plant that they run with Volvo, as you said, in Charleston, right, South Carolina. The only problem with this vehicle is its suggested retail price is $67,500.
Well, yes.
I like when you say, "Well, yes."
Well, it's bad cop, good cop.
Yeah.
but that's kind of the price of doing business in this level of electric vehicles.
Well, I guess so. I mean, it does have the range. It does have new 21-inch alloy wheels that are available. The single motor Polestar 3 produces about 300 horsepower and 361 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 7.8 seconds. So, I mean, nice specs. But man, you do pay for it.
You do, but I think, first of all, Polestar buyers, I think, are rather accustomed to these kinds of prices.
Okay.
As are Volvo buyers.
Yeah.
So this shouldn't be a surprise. These are extremely well equipped. Very, very high level materials in the interiors. Out, as they say, outstanding Bowers and Wilkins 25 speaker audio system.
Oh my.
How many speakers can you put in a car?
I don't know. That's
my gosh.
I mean, man, that's pretty crazy. So very high end vehicle. I believe is what's being made there, the EX30?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With it, the Volvo. Anyway, it's good news. I'd like to see the plant opening up, and I'd like to see that happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go over to Genesis. The announcement this week from Inside EVs. Genesis has changed up its plans. The company is backtracking on electric vehicles. It had planned to announce only electric vehicles after 2025. Not so much anymore. They are switching up. They will go hybrids, which is not unusual. And they will also go range-extended electrics. So they will have smaller battery vehicles with a range extender, an engine that basically charges the battery.
You know, now this is a perfect example of what you have constantly said, which is you've got to be agile on your feet if you're in this industry. You've got to be able to turn around fast and put out a variation of the product, in this case, that people want.
Yes. And when they thought it was all electrics that people wanted, they came out with electrified versions of the G70 and GV70, which are virtually the same car with just an electric drivetrain. I thought that was a great idea. I thought, okay, you're not have to make it like a futuristic spaceship. It's something and people like, and it has a form factor that people like, and the controls are normal. And
exactly.
that's what they did. and then they got that out pretty quickly, and now they're making another switch. This is what you got to do.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. So the question is, why is it that they can do this, and Kia can do this, but Volkswagen can't seem to do it? Stellantis,
They're working on it.
Stellantis doesn't have any money. Yes, Volkswagen's working on it, but it's remarkable that some of these companies just seem to have a sixth sense about what they need to do.
Yeah, they do. I just think they're just on it. They got it. They know what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt sad when they're like, GM was like, well, yeah, we know people want hybrids. Maybe around 2027 we'll get more hybrids in our lineup. And I was like, they may not want hybrids by then. You know what I mean? That's how you have to be that fast.
2027.
That's a long ways off.
Well, it's too late. To count on that.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You don't know. You don't know. They might want extended range electrics by then. Boom. That's how fast you have to change it up. And I just don't think they're up to it, some of these other companies. But back to electrics. Let's talk a little bit about Mini Aceman and the electric Cooper. They are both headed to the U.S., but apparently Mini is delaying them now. And I'm not so sure if it is for the fact of getting parts and things like that, or if it was due to the fact that the demand might not be as great as they thought it would be. I love the look of the Aceman. It's a great little vehicle, but you won't be able to buy these things for at least another year. That's what Mini is saying.
This is interesting. You and I have both driven early electric Minis with the strongest regenerative braking
in the world.
I've ever experienced.
Yes,
but again, this is just such a perfect idea for the Mini.
Yeah, yes, it is, and it makes so much sense for them because it is. It really is just what people are looking for, I think, with this. I really think
that's
this
right.
is what they are looking for. So we'll see. We'll see if these things make it to the U.S. or will they make it with some other powertrain. I don't know. We'll have to see. I have to say I'm still off-put by the giant round screen in the middle of the dash. It looks clownish. Yeah. It looks clownish.
It looks toyish to me, like a child's toy.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't like it. I think they could have a kind of a retro-ish dash, but not have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if there's anything that possibly takes away from the car, it's that. Although I don't know. I've never talked to owners whether they would prefer something different.
I like the look of the outside of the electric Cooper and the Aceman.
Yeah,
I think the
nice.
styling is great, but I just don't like that on the inside. But hey, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. That round pizza pan glued to the dash for the display, is that just odd? I mean, I like the big gauge in the middle of the dash when it was a gauge, but I don't know if it works as a screen. It's just too big. They probably had to make it just too big to do what it had to do. So, well, we'll see. But playing the waiting game. I'll tell you who's not playing the waiting game, though, and that is the Pope. Boy, you never thought that was coming, did you?
I did not see that coming.
Pope Francis is a bit of a car guy, and he likes clean vehicles, and now he's getting a electric-powered G-Wagon Pope-mobile, which the G-Wagon's been used for many years as a Pope-mobile, but now it is going to be electric, fully electric, and it will be handed over in time for the 2025 Jubilee and will continue his love of clean vehicles. Almost looks like a boat back there with that seat.
I was about to say, it looks like a fishing boat with that swivel seat.
We'll be right back with more Cruise Control after this.
Coming.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Les, let's talk a little talk and tech. How's that sound?
Why not? Why not?
Yeah, so many, I don't know if many people know, or maybe they do know, but we have an audience that is very up on technology. But most electric vehicles are sort of like a golf cart. They have a one-speed transmission. And
That's right.
you use more electricity, you push down on it, and that means it will go faster. But it doesn't shift. There have been very few electric cars that have a manual transmission. But most don't really have a transmission. It's one speed. Well, now Lucid is coming out with this idea of a two-speed transmission. It's like the Power Glide, the modern Power Glide.
Well, yeah, yes. I hope it's more efficient than the old Power Glide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The overarching idea is to use electricity more efficiently and slow the motor down by gearing, and to get more range that way without adding a bigger battery. Because range is what they're about. Lucid loves
That's right.
being about range. So one other automaker, Porsche, had explored boosting their EV range using two-speed transmissions as well. So a patent applied, this comes from CarBuzz because they always are looking at patent. A patent applied back in 2023, it was recently granted, describes part of the system, although details are not known for sure. But it looks like there are planetary gears, there's a gearbox, and a two-speed transmission. And it would, what they're basically doing, they want to achieve 6 miles per kilowatt hour of power. The current Lucid Air can achieve about 5 miles of kilowatt use per hour. So they want to add range using this. I think it makes sense. It probably would also reduce wear on the motor if you run it slower, right?
It would, and they're just bringing it down, as they say, taking motors that could possibly be spinning tens of thousands of RPM down to what they call wheel speeds. Most people don't know that, when you're going 70, 80 miles an hour and you have a 18-inch wheel, that wheel's only spinning about 1,000 RPM.
Right.
So, let the engine, slow down a little bit and use gearing, and that's great. And planetary gearboxes are the way to go. I have always loved the engineering of planetaries.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I guess it's a cost balancing thing. So if I can put a smaller battery in, which is the big cost of electric cars, and get the same or better range, the price of the gear train, which is a maintenance item, you have to put oil in it and things like that, might be worth it, right? So it's a math problem, isn't it?
It is.
What costs more? What's harder to manufacture? It's harder to manufacture a planetary gear system than it is to add a bigger battery, but maybe it's a page out of internal combustion. Remember when a 3-speed automatic was the bomb, and then it went to 4-speed overdrive, and then we got up to 10 speeds?
10 speeds now. My car is 8 speeds.
Yeah. So what do you think? I think could this be something that will spread to other electric vehicles?
I think it will. I think this is the next big technical break for electrics.
Yeah. Well, to get the battery price down, I think that will be good. But the other benefit is, I don't know, but what do you think? Do you think a planetary gear system weighs more or less than a larger battery?
A planetary gear system these days probably weighs on the order of 25 pounds.
Okay.
They're not large.
Okay. So that probably is lighter than adding more battery, right?
Well, batteries are heavy.
Yeah, batteries are heavy. Yeah. Also, you think about this, could this be another benefit of using this in an extended range electric where you have a smaller battery to begin with because you have the engine that is, charging the battery basically. But if you could use that power, and you do have a smaller battery, so if you could use the smaller battery power more efficiently and change the speed of the motor, it's kind of funny. The electric car is getting more complex as it goes along, isn't it?
That's right, but it's good complexity.
Yes.
As opposed to just complexity for the sake of gadgetry.
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea. It's you also would use a smaller motor.
Yeah, smaller motor, and as I say, anything that's
Less
running
weight.
at less RPM is going to last longer. You couple that. I mean, what do we say all the time on the show? These electric cars that are out there now, it is early days for these things. And
That's right.
You'll laugh. It's like, what? You had 250 miles of range. I've got like 700 or 800 miles of range.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can charge it up in five minutes. I mean, what's the big deal? Or why you bought out a performance car and it weighed as much as a pickup truck? That's because you had to put a big battery in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's all coming.
I just think the current electric cars won't age well. In other words, not that they won't work, other than their battery wearing out.
Well.
They won't age well because it will be ancient technology. And, you look at, we were talking about older Jags and that's old technology, but it's kind of aged well. It is what it is, I don't know if a car with short range and somewhat depleted batteries will age that well. And I think...
Well, why would you pay for a car with short range? Why would you pay $5,000-$6,000 for a new battery when yours wears out? You just stop driving it.
You might not even be able to get the battery for under 20.
Might not.
So
That's
it
right.
makes no sense. And so then it's not as economical or ecologically sound to have all this waste of a car that now you've got all these things you have to get rid of, and maybe the car is okay, but it needs new batteries, but you can't blame someone for spending that price and having an old car. So I don't know. There's a lot of ins and outs to this. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of things like that, and I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm excited by the technology, like these 2-speed transmissions. I'm excited by range extenders, and frankly, I want to ask you a question. Put on your prognosticator hat. When will we see full hybridization of every vehicle? Something that I think we're headed for.
I believe you're right. I think by certainly before 2030, I think.
Yeah.
Every internal combustion powered vehicle will be a hybrid because it'll be very inexpensive to do it, and it'll extend the useful range on a gallon of gas.
And they'll change the laws for full electrification in 2035 to just be electrified, have hybrid, and it will be solved. That's it. That's what I think will. Hey, we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye.